Thank you so much for joining us again on this edition of Capital Market. I'm Temple Ashaju. And just before the show kicks off, we'd like to remind you that you can join in the conversation on Twitter at Channels TV and at CTV Tempili. Those are the two handles we're using for this show. But it's no longer news that the Minister of Finance, Mrs. Kemi Adeosun, late last night announced the fresh reshuffling of leadership at the Securities and Exchange Commission, representing the third rejigging at the regulatory center of the Nigerian capital market within the last 6 months. 5 portfolios at the commission were hit as Ms. Mary Udok was named the new acting director general of the commission, replacing the former acting DG, Dr. Abdul Zubair, who was there for just 5 months. According to a statement from the Ministry of Finance, Ms. Udok is to regulate the capital market, while Dr. Zubair moves to the External Relations Department of the agency. And the minister redeployed Mr. Reginald Karawusa as the acting executive commissioner, legal and enforcement, and Mr. Ishaku Tilde as the acting executive commissioner, operations, while Mr. Henry Roland becomes the acting executive commissioner, corporate services. These appointments are coming less than 1 week to a scheduled first capital market committee meeting for the year 2018. Meanwhile, the Federal Ministry of Finance has requested for a formal explanation from the SEC of the recent communications between the agency and the Nigerian Stock Exchange, which impacted market confidence in the course of the trading week. And now the Chief Executive of Financial Derivatives Company, Mr. Bismarck Rewane, joins us live to analyze the implications of this rejig in the Nigerian capital market. Good evening, sir, and thank you for coming through on the program.
Good evening, Temple.
So when you heard this news last night, what came to your mind?
First of all, let Nigerians understand that there are 3 elements to this particular, what I call interesting saga. One is, should there be a technical suspension of his share for more than 10 business days, which is the usual practice. 2 is that what happened within the Security and Exchange Commission, in which case there was a breakdown in communication between the Security and Exchange Commission and the Nigerian Stock Exchange. 3, if there was any malfeasance or any misunderstanding or negligence, then the Minister of Finance, who serves as a board, can then intervene in the Security and Exchange Commission to ensure that confidence is not eroded and things happen. So you've got to look at these 3 distinct compartments of bureaucratic setting at this time. 1, let us first take the question of the shares of Oando. Oando management was a subject of forensic audit and investigation. The forensic audit has been, these shares have been suspended for 175 days. There's no way in the world that the forensic audit shouldn't have finished well before then. Now, in the meantime, that sector of the economy has grown by about 8%. Other companies in that sector have actually prospered. That is Mobil, Total, and Corn Oil. Their stocks have all gained significantly in the meantime. The people that suffered most were the shareholders who were not allowed to trade their stock. But why should they trade their stock if there's hidden value or hidden holes within the financial statement? That is the position of the board of SEC, which is the Ministry of Finance, that let us finish the forensic audit. But this forensic audit cannot be indefinite, cannot be there for all times. So something should have happened to ensure that, 1, the auditors finished in time, so even though there were issues of injunctions and all of that, but something had to happen. But what the strange thing was that in between this process, the Security and Exchange Commission communicated with the Nigerian Stock Exchange, or the Nigerian Stock Exchange requested for permission from the Security and Exchange Commission, and that permission was granted. Then it was overturned. Then the old drama of Thursday, which happened last time, which was an embarrassment to the country and an embarrassment to the Nigerian capital markets. Don't forget that one of the objectives of this capital of the country is to make Nigeria the attractive destination for investment. So this is the question, and I'm quite sure that the minister was enraged when she found out that the suspension had been lifted. If she acts as a board and she was hearing about that on television for the first time, then obviously there was a problem. And so she now moves people around and starts an investigation to find out exactly what happened. Was it conspiratorial, or was it just an honest mistake? Are the SEC officials guilty of what we call sincere ignorance or conscientious stupidity? One of the two, or negligence, or, on the other hand, conspiracy. So these are the questions.
And where does this leave us in terms of the confidence issue that you raised earlier? You talked about the fact that it is embarrassing to the nation.
It is embarrassing because, you see, this is a country that the perception of people are that the country, there's a lack of assertiveness, lack of direction in certain areas of the leadership of companies and the country. Therefore, anything like this could feed into that narrative of us not being clear or steadfast or assertive about what we want to do. So I think the fact that the minister moved very quickly to restore order to the lead regulator and to show that this country can back and bite at the same time is good to that extent. But the thing is that it should never have happened in the first place. This is what we call damage control. It should never have happened in the first place. There's no question. There's no way that the regulator can lift the suspension of a company which was under so much controversy at a point in time, which led to the ousting of a previous DG without clearance from the board. How could that have happened? And, you know, this Nigerian Stock Exchange as well should have actually cleared as well to say, look, is this improper or what is, what's happening? So there are too many, the ball dropped in too many places. And I mean, where we are now is that we should do damage control and ensure that we restore confidence to investors and restore confidence to both domestic and international investors for that matter.
And so what sort of impacts do you see these developments having on the market at large? Of course, the CMC meeting is scheduled for Thursday, Friday next week. Do you think that will still hold?
Well, I don't know that. If we are going to hold the CMC Capital Market Committee meeting, yes, it should hold, because this is not about people, it's about institutions. But it's going to building, restoring confidence in the Security and Exchange Commission as a lead regulator who knows what it's doing and who is fair, firm, and assertive. It's going to take some time. But these things happen. We had situations where the NNPC, the Ministry of Petroleum, we've had circumstances, but these are teething problems. Don't forget that the APC as a party only came into office 3 years ago, and are beginning to find their feet. And so these are parts of those teething problems that you have in an administration that is just beginning to get its direction very clearly.
Mr. Bismarck Rewane, CEO, FDC, thank you so much for giving us a portion of your weekends this time. We appreciate it so much.